Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here, and in today's video I'll be going over Daniel Jeremiah's first mock draft where he has the Washington Commanders taking UNC quarterback Drake Maye with the number 2 overall pick. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button and that notification bell as well, and comment down below who you want the Commanders to draft at number 2. It helps out the algorithm a ton. Alright, so we're getting closer and closer to the NFL draft. Obviously still have a while before we get there, but mock draft season is going to begin. We got the Senior Bowl coming up. I'm not exactly sure when, but it's sometime in the next week or two. I think it's like the week in between the Super Bowl. Not completely sure, but it's coming up soon. So you're going to see some quarterbacks like Michael Penix and Bo Nix play, and some other really good prospects. But Daniel Jeremiah, who's one of the most well-respected draft analyst out there, was a scout for the Ravens, works with the Chargers right now. I mean, obviously it's just broadcast stuff, but he is very well respected in this league, and he dropped his first mock draft, and he had the Washington Commanders drafting Drake Maye with the number 2 overall pick, with Caleb Williams being the first overall pick in the draft to the Chicago Bears. So I would love to get Caleb Williams at 2, or even if we don't have to trade up a ton to get him at 1, I would do it. I know a lot of people are against Caleb Williams because of the leadership stuff and him painting his nails, him crying, whatever. I honestly don't care. I mean, obviously, there are some maturity questions, and even then I don't think they're a big deal, but he can play. He's an absolute baller, and there are questions in terms of does he perform against the best team? And sure, that's a valid question, and there's going to be questions about each prospect, but I think Caleb Williams is in his own tier of the quarterbacks, and I would take him at 1 if we could, or at 2 if the Bears somehow don't take him and they want Marvin. But I think if the Bears don't take a QB, they're trading out of that number 1 spot. So then we go to number 2, and he has the Washington Commanders taking Drake Maye, which a lot of people might be like, well, yeah, that's an obvious pick, but there's been a lot of Jaden Daniels buzz. I would not be surprised if Jaden Daniels is the number 2 overall pick in this draft or maybe not the number 2 overall pick, but the number 2 quarterback on a lot of teams' boards, or some teams' boards at least, by the time draft season starts. I'm not saying it's going to or by the time the draft starts. There's going to be probably a lot of teams with Drake Maye as number 2, but Jaden Daniels is creeping up there. And he had a really good year. Obviously, he won the Heisman. And Daniel Jeremiah, I listened to his podcast going over this mock draft, and he said that Jaden Daniels, I believe he said he had the best tape of any quarterback in this draft. He was, or at least compared to the guys ahead of him in Drake Maye and Caleb Williams. I'm not 100% sure he said about Caleb, but I know he said Jaden's tape was much better than Drake Maye's, at least this past season, or was better than Drake Maye's this past season. And yeah, Jaden Daniels had a great year. He won the Heisman, and people say he only had one good year. He had a good year before that too, 17 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. We'll talk more about Jaden Daniels later, in future videos, but right now we'll talk about Drake Maye, and I would be happy with Drake Maye at 2. I'll be fine with him at 2. I'll be fine with Jaden Daniels as well. I'll be happy with whatever Adam Peters does here, because I'm going to trust him, at least in the beginning. Before he proves me wrong, I'm going to trust him. But he's given me, he hasn't made any decisions yet, or major decisions, but he hasn't given me any reason to not trust him. And, he's the number 1 candidate for a lot of teams. For the last few years, we got him. So I'm going to trust him, whatever he does, whether it's Drake Maye, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. As long as he takes a QB, I think that's the right move. And let's see. Let's look at Drake Maye's stats a little bit. So this past year, or one thing, and a lot of people do compare him to Sam Howell, and I do get some of the comparisons in terms of he had a really good, year before he went to the draft, and the year that he, right before the draft, 2 years before the draft, they both had really, really good years, and the year after that, right before the draft, they had a little bit of a worse year than they had the year before. You look at Drake Maye. First year didn't play much when Howell's there. 1 touchdown, no interceptions, threw 10 passes. 2022, 517 or 66% completion percentage, 4,200 yards, 38 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, got sacked 40 times. Those are good numbers. And then basically everything was worse this year except for the sack numbers. but passing yards down, completion percentage down 3%, which is significant. The yards down 700, which again, that's a lot. Touchdowns down by 14 and interceptions up by 2. And the tape is still like good. He's a good quarterback. And also, like, there's differences with him and Hal. I mean, he's 6'4", 230, and Hal's what, like 6'1", and they might list him at 6'2", but let's keep it real. Sam Howell's not 6'2". I mean, we can look it up here, but I think they probably have him at 6'1". Yeah, they have him at 6'1". So, and that's a like issue. I really think height is an issue with quarterbacks, and sometimes some quarterbacks can make up for it with other traits like running, like Lamar can, or Drake May, or not Drake May, Jaden Daniels can, but being 6'4" is like that's absolutely huge. 6'4", 230. He has the best build that you can ask for from a quarterback, and he's also quick. Let's not forget that. You look at his rushing numbers, and he had 100 carries, 449 yards, and 9 touchdowns, and had a 56-yard run. Again, college numbers are a little bit different how they calculate the stats, just because any sacks you take are counted as negative yardage. So I don't know exactly what it would be without the sacks, but it would be a lot more, and 9 total touchdowns. So it's easier to run in college and the NFL for a lot of these quarterbacks, but still, he is quick. His vision might not be as good as Hal's in terms of running, but I think he's quicker overall than Hal. And he'll be kind of maybe like a Justin Herbert type runner, not in terms of like the style that they run, but like about how much they run. I don't think Drake May is going to be trying to run as much as possible, but he will run when he needs to, and he'll be efficient when he can. And real quick, a word from today's sponsor. And make sure you guys check out BetUS. They're giving away 2 Super Bowl tickets, one to you and a friend/family member. Just follow all the instructions on the screen to be eligible for a giveaway. It's a great opportunity. And like I said, make sure you guys check out BetUS. Link in the description. You get 125% first time deposit up to $2,500 sign up bonus. So make sure you guys check them out. You got playoffs this weekend. You got the Texans and the Ravens coming up in about an hour and a half. And then after that, you got the Packers and 49ers. You got a couple games tomorrow too. It should be hopefully a good weekend of NFL football. Gives you a lot of different options to bet on. So make sure you guys check them out. Link in the description. Very reliable. And as usual, bet responsibly. All right, so we're back. And yeah, overall, I like Drake May. I'll be happy if we take him, because I think he is a very good quarterback prospect. I think in a lot of years, in the past, 10 years, he would be one of the first, if not the first quarterback taken in the draft. A lot of analysts say he would have been the number 1 quarterback taken in last year's draft if he declared then. And yeah, they can say that a lot about a lot of different, quarterbacks and stuff if they declared early. But just a thought right there. I really like Drake May, and I'm not saying Jaden Daniels is better than him. I really don't know yet, because we still got a lot of time, a lot more information to process, and I'll get to watch some tape and see how these guys do at the combine. Even though it doesn't, I don't think the combine matters a ton, especially for quarterbacks. But pro days a little bit still. Again, doesn't matter a ton. But really, the tape is what's important, and what we're hearing from teams going into the start of the draft. I'll be happy though with Drake, Caleb, or Jaden, but I'll be very, very happy with Caleb Williams as our quarterback, even though maybe some of you guys would not be too happy. But yeah, mock drafts are going to be coming up a lot. I'll probably, do one every couple weeks, every few weeks. And then once we get, closer to the draft, I'll probably do some more often. I just don't like to do it too often. I know the last couple years I have been, but it just it becomes very repetitive. So I'll probably just do one every 2 weeks or so, and once we get closer to free agency, I'll be doing more free agency based content, stuff like that. But hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and peace.